Greig. We thought you'd like an update. So he's now been in prison for 99 days. We understand that his Wednesday hearing has been brought forward until today, so it's taking place today. And that's an appeal against the refusal of bail. Robert, of course, not permitted to attend, and the case will be heard by a single sheriff. And we also understand that whatever the verdict today, Robert will have to attend another hearing in front of a single sheriff on Friday the 30th of May to actually find out what his sentence is.
Just to clarify, that refusal of bail happened on Friday?
That's correct,
yes.
Yeah. So, whilst Robert remains in prison, an anonymous MP has nominated him for the Nobel Peace Prize, and I'm going to read out in full an excerpt from that letter, and I assure our viewers and readers this is real. It's come from an MP, but at the moment the MP wishes to remain anonymous, as do his colleagues, who are now starting to understand the industrial scale of child abuse in Britain. I am a British parliamentarian, and I'm writing to nominate Mr. Robert Greig for the 2015 Nobel Peace Prize. Robert Greig is a British children's rights campaigner who has been actively involved for several years in challenging the failure of the police in Scotland to properly investigate the extensive child sex abuse allegations of Holly Greig, a young woman with Down syndrome who was allegedly sexually abused as a child by a large and organised paedophile ring. Especially in the wake of the revelations about Jimmy Savile and his extensive child sex abuse in the UK, which the authorities failed to thoroughly investigate, over the last few years there's been a growing awareness of the need for the UK authorities to take child protection and the investigation of child sex abuse allegations much more seriously. Robert Greig has sacrificed his personal finances, job, reputation and freedom in his ongoing campaign to have the Holly Greig case properly investigated. The Aberdeen police in Scotland, who should be thoroughly investigating Holly Greig's child sex abuse allegations, have instead repeatedly arrested Robert Greig and twice raided his house in England and seized his property without returning it. Even as I write this nomination letter, Robert Greig is in prison in Scotland, having been arrested for at least the third time by the Aberdeen police on the 13th of February 2014. These repeated arrests have been despite the fact that all that Robert Greig has campaigned for is for the Aberdeen police to do their job and properly investigate Holly Greig's allegations of child sex abuse. A matter of great urgency, since whoever abused Holly Greig is likely to be still extensively abusing other children. Holly Greig is originally from Aberdeen, Scotland, and has named at least 22 people who allegedly sexually abused her since she was a child, and these alleged abusers include head teachers, social workers, a senior police forensics officer since deceased, and a judge. She also named 7 apparent victims of these alleged abusers. The Aberdeen police have so far refused to properly and thoroughly investigate the Holly Greig case, only interviewing at most just 2 of the 22 named suspects, and not even bothering to check their computers for possible possession of child pornography images, as is normally done with suspected child sex abusers. Aberdeen police have also refused to interview any of the victims named by Miss Greig. This disturbing pattern of repeated arrests of Robert Greig by the Aberdeen police suggests that the arrests are a means of obstructing and stopping Mr. Greig's campaign for the abusers of Holly Greig to be brought to justice. Just allow me to catch up here. Contrast the speed and intensity with which the Aberdeen police have pursued cases against Robert Greig with their sheer reluctance to interview the suspects and victims named by Holly Greig. Consider also the fact that if Holly Greig's allegations are true, then there is a fairly large number of child abusers who are left free to continue abusing other children in and around Aberdeen and perhaps further afield. This is not just an issue for Scotland. since children's rights are universal, but also because paedophiles travel extensively across borders in search of victims. To protect children from abuse is to protect our future, because children represent the future of nations. Safeguarding and nurturing children also helps to ensure both present and future peace and stability in society, and thus also between nations. Children are also the responsibility of the entire community, not just their parents. And Robert Greene has set not just their parents. And Robert Greene has set a sterling example of sacrificial care and devotion for the security of children by his relentless campaign for the Holly Greig case to be properly and thoroughly investigated by police, and his general active support for children abuse cover-ups to be publicly exposed. Child protection is one of the very urgent and challenging issues of our times, whether protecting children from sexual exploitation and sex trafficking, or protecting them from sexual abuse by getting law enforcement agencies to perform their duties diligently and professionally to protect children and apprehend their abusers. Now, as I've said, that's an excerpt, and if anybody wonders why that nomination is for 2015, I understand that the present Nobel list is closed for this year, so that nomination has had to be pushed into 2015. But a pretty clear statement from now a group of MPs in Westminster who, I'm happy to say, are clearly waking up to the scale of the problem and the fact that it is our own government, both in Westminster and north of the border in Scotland, that are covering up the abuse.
There were two comments in the chat box that concern me slightly, and I need to answer them, really. One is the suggestion that this letter is anonymous and therefore pointless, that anybody could have written it. That is a pretty nonsense statement, actually. The letter is not anonymous as far as the Nobel Peace Organization is concerned, the Nobel Peace Prize Organization, and it's not anonymous to us. But at this point, we have been asked to keep it anonymous as far as the general public is concerned, and that's what we're going to do.
So, yes, that's absolutely correct. So we are aware of the Westminster source that's provided this document to us. And of course, the key aim of the document, in my personal opinion, Nobel Peace Prize, we could have a discussion over that. Does this highlight the plight of Holly Greig and other children who are talking about abuse? Does this highlight the case of Robert Greene still being in prison despite the fact that we allow paedophiles to go free? That's what it's about. And
it's about the fact that some people within the establishment are prepared to take some action as well.
Indeed.
So, and the other point was, could the UK column not get Robert's case onto Russia Today? Look, guys, the UK column is doing everything that we can. If you think that there would be some value in having Robert's case on Russia Today, you organise it. Come on, get off your backsides and do it.
You know? Yeah, we'll totally agree with that. We get a lot of suggestions.